Good afternoon, everybody, and happy Monday, April 4th, 2022. I had a pop-up devotion pop up on my laptop. I was uploading another one I just did, and I thought this was a really good one. It kind of goes with the one I was just talking about. 5 ways the church can reach people with disabilities. This is by Pamela Palmer, and this was published December 29th of 2019 in Bible Study Tools. American culture functions in ways that often marginalize people with disabilities. Imagine the challenges of being in a wheelchair user and traveling by plane, or being a blind person placing an order at a restaurant. Well, I can tell you, when I was on crutches back in the 80s, it was a nightmare. People were so rude, slammed the doors in my faces, they didn't want to help. And I've always helped people with handicaps because you need help, period. Just like with Hannah being my service dog. I can't imagine life with her. Actually, Harley was my service dog yesterday. She was struggling to get up the steps, but her strength was unbelievable. I held onto the rail and then held on to her handle on her harness, and the two of us walked up the stairs yesterday. So, you know, it's unreal how the three of us just keep helping each other. The obstacles can be daily for those with disabilities to partake in even the most common activities. And for us, me and Harley, it's just walking up the stairs. My girlfriend has MS walking up the stairs, or just walking parallel. You know, it's just sometimes your balance is off. Church is no exception. And oftentimes people with disabilities experience church to be a difficult place to get connected, and that's sad. They should never feel like this, especially someone with disability. They should be welcomed with open arms. It is estimated that less than 2% of deaf people in America have a relationship with Jesus. Well, that just breaks my heart. It makes me want to learn sign language. According to statistics, with gate communications, the opportunity is ripe to help people with disabilities find their home in a local church. It is possible to host specific events for people with disabilities and make adjustments so that church can be a more welcoming place. Here are 5 ways churches can reach out to make modifications for people with disabilities. Become more accessible. That's number 1. Accessibility is vital for those who are physically disabled or need wheelchair assistance to be able to attend church. It seems like an obvious consideration, but one friend recently shared with me that her stepdad, who is a new wheelchair user, attends a church with only one restroom located in the basement. Any member who cannot go up and down a set of stairs will not be able to use the restroom. For this family and many others like it, restroom accessibility may be the deciding factor in attending church or not. Well, the one thing that I can say that's nice, and since this was written in 2019, is online. So, you know, you can attend church from your living room, which that, to me, is huge for anybody with a disability. And for me, in the last 2 years, you want to talk about being disabled, I couldn't drive myself. And down here, it's hard to get people to drive you. Uber, for me to go to Key West, is $75 one way. Well, really? I can watch church for free in my living room or wherever I choose, outside. So, you know, that's the one thing with the internet that is a positive thing with the internet, is that church service has been more accessible, I think, personally. Churches can create wider aisles for those moments when members are invited to come up to the front of the church, so that wheelchair users will have the space to make their way up. It may be possible to even designate a deacon or volunteer to go to the seats of wheelchair users to serve them communion or to pray with them, just like elderly that are unable to. I mean, Pastor Buck at Grace, I watch him do that constantly. So they don't miss out on practicing their faith. Seating is another important accessibility issue. Make sure there are rows available for those who are physically disabled to sit next to their family. Use chairs that can be easily moved around if room needs to be made for a wheelchair. And that was what was nice with Trinity way back when they were still building the new sanctuary. She's such a trip. When they were building the new sanctuary, they used their gym, so they were fold-up chairs. So it was a lot bigger. So when I was taking Joe Wagner with me to church, and she was in a wheelchair because she had um, ALS, advanced stages of ALS, it was so easy to get her in and out. Plus, we had her van that, I was able to drive her with, and she could connect in with the van and get to church. So it was it was so great that was that way. But even their new sanctuary is more than handicap accessible. Reserved parking spaces, ramp entrances, a volunteer open, blah blah blah. For blind goers, allowing them to set up a time outside of busy Sunday mornings to get familiar with the building will help them learn to navigate it themselves with confidence, therefore giving them a greater chance at feeling safe and empowered to come regularly. Number 2, designated reserved sections. Just as families with young children may have a designated section, a church should designate areas for members with disabilities. Church can be a sensory overload for those with sensory processing disorder, SPD, with loud music, flashing lights, and various aromas present. Providing a designated section that is free of perfumes and overwhelming scents can help your SPD members feel more comfortable and provide them the option to attend and stay for the service. I've never even heard of that. A designated section can also be helpful for those that are deaf, so that they can easily find and see the interpreter for the service. And Trinity and Grace, neither one has an interpreter there. So I don't know if they haven't had the need for or have had any deaf deaf members or even visiting members. For blind church members, a designated section can be beneficial so they can access Braille resources. This type of designation section would also help them connect with a volunteer who can describe parts of the service that would need explanation to someone who is blind or visually impaired. A picture or a prop being used during the sermon. Well, if they're blind, how they're going to be able to see that? Create quiet spaces. A common trend among churches is to air the service live outside of the sanctuary. Oftentimes this is for overflow purposes or children who get fussy, but some members may feel more comfortable in an area where they can view the service on a screen. I attended a service in which an autistic child had a verbal outburst, and unfortunately the only space the family could go to help calm their child was the restroom. Families with a loved one that has autism are often hesitant to go to church because their child may be sensitive to loud music or bright stage lights. I can't even imagine as a parent how frustrating that could be. Churches can have separate room available for families to utilize during the service, just like the nursery is open for parents of little ones to breastfeed or change a diaper. This can make all the difference when a family of an autistic child is deciding to go to church. And I know at Trinity, they have this outer area that people congregate, and I know that there's pews and seating set up that they can sit out there too and still hear the liturgy, which is nice. So I think that that's a nice alternative for families where they don't have to go in and maybe feel embarrassed. I mean, I don't know that they would feel embarrassed. I mean, I don't know, because I've never been in that situation. So I can't even begin to imagine I'm a parent with an autistic child, how they feel in those situations. I can only assume that it's very frustrating just by watching, being an outsider looking in. SPD churchgoers may benefit from a calm room. The calm room can be painted in a neutral color, including dim and light switches, white noise machine, comfortable furniture. Ultimately, depending on the needs of your congregation, having a separate room available may lift the anxieties and fears enough to make it possible for certain families to once again attend church. I mean, ideally, the name of the game is to get as many members or anyone, for that matter, any human that wants to learn about Jesus, let's accommodate them. Let's accommodate them so they can learn like the rest of us. Connect them to ministry. People who attend church naturally want to get connected to others and have the chance to serve and make a positive impact. One issue to consider is how a church makes it possible for people with disabilities to get involved. Make sure that they too have ministry options available to them and that they are encouraged to participate. Offering a deaf-blind ministry will provide opportunities for people to serve in church, greeters, coffee service, PowerPoint assistants, or nursery duty, etc. This type of ministry could also offer events and small groups tailored to the deaf-blind community. Whatever their disability, most are ready and willing to serve if they know there are opportunities and ways for them to get involved. Number 5, offer necessary resources. The reality is that people with disabilities can benefit with minor modifications that may make church an easier place for them, and the resources offered can be adjusted. As well, some other potential resources include Braille and or large print Bibles and bulletins can be made available for the visually impaired or blind, noise canceling headphones. It may be beneficial for someone on staff or a committed volunteer who knows ASL, which is, what is ASL? Autistic. I don't know. It doesn't. They just abbreviated ASL. A person with disabilities goes to church to learn about Jesus and to find a God-centered community. They desire to be seen as an equal part of the body of Christ, not someone broken that needs to be fixed. All are created in God's image, Genesis 1, verse 12. And all are fearfully and wonderfully made, Psalm 139, verse 14. Speak directly to church members with disabilities to learn their unique needs and preferences that will make it possible for them to keep attending church, get involved, and ultimately deepen their relationship with Christ. I know it was beyond fulfilling for me to be the driver for Jo so she could attend church. And she didn't take communion right away, but later she did, which was a godsend on my part. I was so thrilled that she finally did partake of it. Pamela Palmer is a writer, chaplain, and the founder of upheld.com, the platform which she produces weekly devotionals and faith resource articles to inspire keeping faith at the center of it all. She lives and thrives on Jesus, coffee, and music. Love that. She is in the pastoral ministry and gets to share in the emotional and spiritual lives of many people, being a small piece of each journey. Pamela married the perfect man for her, and they have 2 beautiful kiddos. She has been published on herviewfromhome.com, and you can follow her at upheld.com or on facebook.com/upheld. So I don't know, it just popped up and I thought it was information that's important because, it's not just in church that people have disabilities, it's in life, and we're there to help thy neighbor. We're not there to just make them fend for themselves. Open doors for them when you see them coming. Don't just slam the door in their face. They need help. We all do. So give back. That's what we're here for. We need to show God that his only begotten son wasn't sacrificed for nothing. We need to show him that we love the land that he gave us. And we need to start making this a giant Garden of Eden across the board. Every place I've ever lived at, that's what I've done. Now, I know when I first arrived at the Coco Cabana, I needed a break from life, period. So I think the first year I was there, I didn't do anything, and people just could not believe it. They were like going out of their mind that Natalie was not doing anything. I didn't cut the grass, I didn't water the grass, I didn't do anything. And it was amazing to me how it affected people more than it affected me. I said, I need a break from life. I am tired of taking care of everyone and everybody and everything. So I took this break, and it was a much-needed break, and then the house flourished. My garden was a garden that was unbelievable. I mean, people didn't even plant tomatoes because mine flourished. I mean, it was unreal. My morning glories were this beautiful wall of flowers constantly blooming all throughout the summer and into the spring, summer, and fall. I mean, it was unreal. It was unreal how beautiful they were. And you just threw the seeds down, and then they reseeded. And they were annuals, but they just kept coming back every year because why wouldn't they? He wanted them to. And they made it up through the light. So, I don't know, I just thought this was an important message to pass along to everybody. about, you know, helping those with disabilities wherever you can. And I know that I used to know a little bit of sign language, so I might dabble in that too. Who knows? I mean, I got plenty of time when I'm horizontal, and I know I can't go do much today. I'm not doing well. My head pain is back here, and it's just been constant all day. All day. And when it's back here, it's like I'm wearing a helmet on my head. It's not fun. And I can tell, I did a lot of resting yesterday, but I can tell I have not had enough. Because I can feel my body just going down. But I got clean sheets on my bed today, cleaned up my room so they don't have to do it. Just many hands make light work, so I'm just trying to do my fair share here at this beautiful resort that I love. Oh my goodness. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. Stay tuned, I've got more coming up. Love to all bunches and bunches. Bye.